The next point, point number 9. This is burdening the common people with pondering the essence and descriptions of Almighty Allah more than is absolutely necessary. This is another important point. It is here in Toronto, but it is not as intense as it is in London or New York or in other parts of the Western world. And that is students of knowledge who gain an understanding in Aqidah. And this is particular in an area called Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat. And in the time of Sheikh Uthman Danfodio rahimahullah, there was a book called Aqidat al-Sughra. This is a book done by a famous scholar named As-Sanusi. As-Sanusi, the Sanusi order was a very famous revivalist order in Libya and in the desert. And Sheikh As-Sanusi wrote a book called Al-Aqidat al-Sughra. And in this work, there's a very heavy emphasis in terms of Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat, that the names and descriptions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be confirmed as the way they are. You should not add to them, you should not take away from them, and you should not try to compare Allah to the creation. You take a middle position. And if Allah says something about Himself, you accept that and you don't try to say how it is. Okay, this is part of the revival of Islam. It is part of the revival. And the isnad of Sheikh Uthman Danfodio, rahimahullah, goes back to the isnad of many of the revivalists in the 18th century. But the problem is, some of the students of knowledge were taking this understanding of Tawheed, and instead of teaching Muslims, they were using it as a test. They would test you with it. And they say, brother, where is Allah? What do you think about this book? And if you don't answer the question correctly, they will say, you're a deviant. You're a deviant Muslim. Don't go to the lecture. Stay away from that person. And they would ostracize the person from the movement. So the Sheikh wrote a number of treatises in this area and showed these students of knowledge that he called al-mutakallimun. He showed them that the Muslim who makes shahada, la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah and prays to the Qibla is on the fitrah. That person is on the natural way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, if that person does not know detailed information about Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat, then you should teach that person, because their heart is clean. If they don't know, teach them. Don't use your knowledge as a means of testing the people and putting the people to a fitna. See the difference between the two? Because if that knowledge that you have in Aqidah is being used to test the people and to punish the people, it will become an obstacle in the path of the revival of Islam. And it is happening today in our communities. Other people outside of Tawheed Asma wa Sifat, in tafsir, or in Arabic language, or in hadith, who gain knowledge, use the knowledge as a sledgehammer to pound the head of another Muslim, instead of using that knowledge to raise and elevate the other Muslim. That's what the knowledge is for, because there's always somebody who has more knowledge than us. And Allah is Al-Alim. Allah has knowledge of all things. And so our knowledge in comparison to Allah is nothing.